Ever notice that the United States is a mere shell of what it used to be, held together by red tape and foreign loans? The citizens seem to be divided, with half the country being to the far right, and the other half being on the left, which is also incredibly divided, with classic liberals standing on one end, and cultural Marxists standing on the other. Despite this being the case, the federal government, which controls all of us, representing absolutely nobody except the corporate fascists, and special interest groups that fund the highly corrupt career politicians, that we're all fooled into voting for time and time again. The huge corporations who shut any legislation, suppress any invention, and destroy any individual that poses a threat to their profits. Despite many of these suppressed innovations potentially being of great benefit to humanity, these corporate entities and corrupt politicians use the media and religion, their two greatest tools, to actually convince the population that things such as universal healthcare, medical advancements, and renewable green energy are bad things, and it's not just their fault. Pointing fingers at a corporation or politician for being corrupt is much like pointing fingers at a snake for biting you. Much like it is the nature of the snake to bite you if approached, it is the nature of psychopathic career politicians and corporations to bite you in the ass if you afford them power and trust. Especially with an entity the size of the United States. No, it's not entirely their fault, as that is just their nature. It's largely our fault for trusting them with our lives, health, freedom, and futures, especially knowing that they are inherently greedy and corrupt. Which brings me to the title of this video, United We Fall, which is of course in direct contrast to popular motto United We Stand, Divided We Fall, used by many federalists and patriots, many of which from my subjective experience also like to preach the wonders of small government, which is the antithesis of federalism. But this is purely anecdotal. However, more to the point, the two-party system was designed originally with the Federalist Party, which favored a strong federal government, and the Democratic Republican Party, which largely favored the right of law at the state level, over the ruling of Washington D.C. based federal government. However, in 1828 the Federalist and Democratic Republican parties were dissolved, and replaced with the Republicans and the Democrats. While the two parties today are obviously taken from the Democratic Republican Party, the Federalist Party seems to have vanished into thin air, without a trace. But that's not true. The Federalist Party has gained permanent power in the United States, whereas the singular Democratic Republican Party had underwent a false dichotomy to create the illusion of a two-party state. It's plain to see that the differences in the political stances of the Republican and Democratic establishment parties are negligible, if not entirely non-existent, and the political stances of the establishment do not reflect the wishes of the majority of the American population at all. Therefore, now that we've established that the US has virtually been a single-party state for the past 188 years, and that the federal elite no longer respects the will of the citizens in which it governs, it seems like a good idea to disband the federal government, and create several new nations based on what regional politics are. For instance, we can have a Christian conservative nation, a progressive cuck nation, a classic liberal nation, a libertarian nation, and so on. But the problem with that is, we can't. The single party has grown so large and powerful that any attempts to dismantle it would be merely an act of futility, or suicide, depending on how you went about it. So this isn't a video about how we can fix our country, or a message of hope. This is more an explanation of why everything is becoming so shitty, so fast. In November, vote for whichever version of the great leader you'd like. Your vote is thrown right in the garbage anyway, and no matter who wins, they're just a puppet for the true great leaders in Congress. So there's literally no hope for improvement. Just sit back and watch it all burn.